All right, what's up, guys? My name is David Jackson here with PredictionStrike. We got the UFC MMA roundup. I got my boys Wells, Jackson, and Grant squad here with me. We're going to talk fight numbers. We're going to talk fight results and fight statistics going forward. It's going to be a great show. And let's see. We're going to start off with a recap, and I think Grant's going to take that off for us.
So last week, Wells and David went, unfortunately, 1-2 with their picks. The Terrence McKinney fight didn't go their way, and Jackson and I ended it 2-1. Jackson called the Nazim Sadikov McKinney fight perfectly, called it a knockout within the distance, and yeah, so 2-1 versus 1-2. We'll see how that continues going forward this week.
It was a sub, just for the record, though.
Yeah. And all four of us learned that the money is always in betting against Holly Holm. So
we're gonna keep baiting Holly Holm, huh?
Yeah.
I think Wells called Buena Silva, actually, so kudos to you.
Oh, you're right.
On the
You did call
Buena
Buena
Silva.
Yep. I forgot about that. Well,
I just called that knockout. Just sadly, it was not sadly, but it was a submission. But helped my portfolio out there, so we're still positive there. Haven't lost too much there.
Yeah, that was a good one.
All right, so now that we got kind of a little brief recap, we're going to kind of dive through some fighters that we think are a little bit more intriguing. I know Jackson wants to lead us off with the first fight of the card, just kind of give us an overview of what's going on there. Because we got Daniel Baez IPOing on PredictionStrike, and Jackson's got a little bit of insight of that fight for us.
Yeah, so just firstly, Jahel Filo, at the time I was doing research on this fight, it was at 1.29 on PredictionStrike after debuting in the UFC against Muhammad Mokaev, who he lost to in submission in the third round. So obviously not the most inspiring result for his debut, but that being said, he almost finished him in the first two rounds, and Mokaev is a really, really strong and powerful submission fighter. So that was a tough matchup for him. Yeah.
His knee,
so
Mokaev's knee was bent backwards in that fight.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that literally clicked in my head. I was like, wait a second, that's a fight that he almost lost his knee.
Super crazy fight. And so I honestly see Philho redeeming himself in this fight. But on the other hand, you have Daniel Baez, who is 3-0 or won his last three matches in UWC Mexico. So if you're looking to make some money off of an IPO against a fighter that lost in his debut, there might be some money to be made there as well.
I like that call a lot, honestly. I didn't even know that. That's pretty wild. All right. Well, moving a little bit forward, we got some kind of underrated guys, I would say, here that are undefeated so far, whether that be in the UFC or their overall record. We're going to kind of list them off here. We got Shauna Bannon in her actual UFC debut. There's nothing too crazy about like her resume from what we've seen, and she's yet to IPO. She's the underdog in that fight, but perhaps she brings a little bit more fire than we're expecting right off the rip. Next, we have Yanal Ashmos. Hopefully I didn't mispronounce that. But he actually has probably one of the more intriguing starts to his UFC career, where he took on a Dana White Contender Series alum and finished the fight with a first-round knockout, which I thought was pretty interesting considering I want to say the Contender Series fighter actually had a second-round submission in his first ever fight by a DWCS. So I think he's a little bit on my radar. I'm kind of keeping an eye there. But I think a guy to really keeping an eye on here is Mick Parkin, who is in his UFC debut as well. And he is also a DWCS alum with a first-round sub. So three different fights to kind of potentially get your overall focus on to see where exactly these prospects go. Maybe they're kind of people you should theoretically put some money behind and invest in, because you don't know what kind of returns that they're going to bring in the future, because these are kind of the cards that you want to find these not as big, I wouldn't say contenders, but they have some kind of spice to them from what I'm seeing about what they can do down the line. And you can always end up surprised on these type of cards. But to kind of move quickly past that and give you guys that brief, quick little roundup, we're going to actually start going into the actual main card itself and give you the first couple fights here off the main card. First fight that we're going to talk about that isn't those undefeated guys that you really should keep your eye on is going to be Davey Grant versus Daniel Marcos. So currently sitting on PredictionStrike, you can get Davey Grant for $1.21 and Daniel Marcos for $1.25. What exactly does that do for your portfolio, though, if either one wins? Well, if Daniel Marcos gets the win, he's got 15% gain on him with a potential 20% if he gets the finish, and same thing on the flip side of the coin. So realistically, you got a pretty 50-50 fight here. You can really just pick and choose who you think's really going to go there. But I'm going to let these guys take that over and give you the real level of analysis that you deserve, because I'm still learning just like you might be.
Well, look, I think this fight is a firecracker, especially at 135. Daniel Marcos has a lot of finishes. I think he only has, maybe 2-3 tops in the decision realm. He's undefeated. He's explosive. Really good dude. And then across the octagon, he's looking at Davey Grant, who is an experienced vet. He does not give up. He's like constantly, in underdog positions, he wins. And man, in London, I don't know if I see Davey Grant necessarily losing this fight, but I do think it's going to be explosive. Could be fight of the night. Both these guys have really comparable prices, so it's kind of a toss-up investment wise. But I will say, Davey Grant's been in the biz for a minute, and I think he's got a lot left in the tank. So at $1.21, I'm feeling pretty good about Davey Grant right there.
Right on. All right, Grant Jackson, you going with that pick as well? Is it going to be inside the distance with a finish, or are we staying outside of it and the judges are handling it by decision, just like they did with Jack Della Maddalena this past weekend?
I think I'll take Marcos by knockout, actually. I think he builds on some of the hype. I also think he's probably a better investment just in general, being a 30-year-old versus a 37-year-old. So there's a lot more potential for growth there. He's only fought once in the UFC, and he knocked out a talented grappler in Simon Oliveira. I think he might get himself into some tough spots, but I think he'll end up outstriking Davey and he'll get the W. Yeah.
I don't know about outstriking, but it's definitely ain't going the distance. Whichever direction it goes, it's not going the distance.
Yeah, I like Marcus as a prospect. I think it'd be super sick to see him win, but at the same time, Davey Grant is such a hard person to get past. He has the best finishing sequence this year, probably. So I think I would take, Davey Grant inside the distance along with David.
I'm going to be a little annoying, as I usually am with these things. I'm going to follow Grant on this pick for this one, but I'm going to spice it a little bit. I think it goes to the decision, and the judges have to make the call and see where it goes from there. Following me has not been the greatest task so far, so we'll see exactly how I go about this ship. Now, moving to the next fight, we have Lerone Murphy versus Joshua Culibao. Now, looking at the fighter prices for here, Joshua Culibao is a bit of the underdog, whereas Lerone Murphy is the kind of consensus favorite. You can get Lerone Murphy at $1.09, $1.09, whereas Josh Culibao is sitting at 86 cents right now. It's a kind of pretty sizable underdog here. In which case, if you're looking for your investment to kind of get that compounded gains to some extent, you're looking at a potential 19% gain for Josh Culibao as a base with a 24% with a finish. And on the flip side of that, Lerone Murphy, if I'm saying that right, I have a feeling I'm not for some reason, is sitting at 12% gain with a potential 17% finish. And I'll let them take it away here.
This is another tough one. Another potential fight of the night. Josh Culibao, I think, was almost written off in his last fight going against a really tough dude and actually pulled out the win. He's really good. Lerone Murphy, as you said, also super strong contender. He's a finisher. And, it's hard to say. We're in London, so I'm going to lean Lerone Murphy on this one inside the distance.
Yeah, Lerone's won 4 straight fights, and he's coming off of a decision win in this same O2 arena that he'll be competing in this weekend. And I think he just keeps that momentum going. He gets the home field advantage, and he finds a way to get it done, probably by decision.
I'm going with Culibao here, especially for the value. Both of them are solid strikers, but I think Coulibao's ground game is a lot better, and he subbed a striker in his last time out. So I'm excited to see what happens there. Murphy, on the other hand, he's on a win streak, but it kind of seemed like he skated to wins in his last 2. And he's had a long layoff, and I just feel like in his last 2 fights, he didn't really look like top form Murphy. So I'm going with Culibao, especially considering the 89-cent price tag.
That's fair.
I'm having a hard time on who exactly I want here. I kind of want to go for the home crowd here because that just makes sense. You're fighting in London. It just seems like all the factors are leading
That
your
arena
way.
is nuts too. I mean, you
Oh,
gotta
the
imagine the
ozone
energy
is
these
nuts.
guys are gonna have.
Just looking at his kind of fight history here to kind of make sure I get it right. The only fight that kind of really intrigues me is the fact that Coulibaly, the only loss he has is to Jalen Turner, which I think we can all agree is a pretty intriguing prospect, and he lost via knockout. So I think Leroy Murphy, I'm going to be a little bit pessimistic here. I'm going to rock with Jackson on this one, and I'm going to go with the Coulibaly side of these things because it's just like, I don't know. I think when you fight really top tier talent, and it's not like you can't go this. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong in this. I haven't done the best so far, but I'm gonna go with Coulibaly to keep it simple and short there.
I feel that. I feel that.
But the 0-2 likely will just destroy me. Like it's gonna happen. Let's be honest here. All right. So now moving on to the next fight here, we have Jai Herbert versus Fares Ziam. All right. Hopefully I'm good with my pronunciation. I've been terrible so far. But what's kind of interesting is when we're looking at how consensus sees this kind of fight specifically, it's a little bit different on Prediction Strike. So consensus kind of has Jai Herbert as the favorite here, whereas Prediction Strike you actually has Fares Ziam as the kind of consensus favorite over there. So Fares Ziam sitting about 82 cents a share, where you get a 13% gain with an 18% with a finish, whereas Herbert is 17% with a 22% kind of gain, if you're following my logic there. So walk us through this fight and kind of how you guys see it going down.
Let's see. Well, I like both guys. I'm gonna sound like a broken record here. Jai Herbert in the O2 Arena is something special. He's a really good striker. Let's not forget, this is the guy who, rocked Ilia Topuria. Back before we knew Ilia Topuria was who Ilia Topuria is. Jai Herbert was the only person that I've ever seen rock the guy. And let's see, the guy's fighting Fares. I'm not super impressed with his record. I know he got knocked out by Terrence McKinney in his last couple of fights, and I'm gonna have to lean Jai Herbert by knockout in the O2 Arena. And that price, let's go. Jai Herbert all day.
I'm going to lean Ziam just purely based on potential. I think he's going to have a tough time in this fight, but he's 26. His Prediction Strike price already shows that people think he has potential to grow a little bit, and I will just lean potential here. And if he gets it done, I look forward to maybe him getting some better opponents and him continue to level up because he's only 26, so plenty of time left for him to grow.
Do we want to do a gentleman's bet here or something?
I'm down.
Yeah. What are we putting on the? What are we putting on? How confident are you?
I'll pick your fit for next week's pod.
Okay. Pick your fit bet.
That.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Like that too. What up, Onyx? Onyx is like, I know exactly who I want to take on this fight.
He likes the underdog.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna ride with you on that one, David. Like, I do kind of like Jai Herbert a bit more here. You got the ozone playing in your favor, and on top of that, like, the only real contingency here is the age factor, right? Because he's got 9 years of age on Ziam, and I think that's why he's the theoretical consensus favorite here. But like that Terrence McKinney loss, and we just saw it. Like, I'm not trying to rag on like McKinney and like what happened last week, because you and I were both on that same one together. Hopefully lightning doesn't strike us twice here. It just seems like it would work. And what you said about Ilia Topuria, like, that's a much more difficult opponent in reality at this kind of phase in the game. And so it's like when you do have that kind of credibility with what we were kind of referencing with Jalen Turner a bit earlier, it presents me a little bit of optimism with all the kind of correlating factors going on with Jai Herbert. I do find it very interesting how much things have changed in terms of consensus view for this fight, but we'll see exactly how that kind of goes overall here. Jackson, any more thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think Josh is going to have a difficult time with Ziam's wrestling. I do have him winning the fight just because of his experience in the ozone, and they're just similar fighters, long range strikers. But I think Herbert's experience is going to take him past Ziam. So I'm with you guys on that.
Right on.
All alone here.
All alone. Alone again.
Sorry, buddy. So, guys, if you don't know much about Prediction Strike yet, now's your time. Prediction Strike is a great alternative to sports betting. You get to actually follow, especially if you're a fan of the sport, you really know these players, these fighters. Prediction Strike is a great opportunity to get in on them before the hype train comes. You can really see some growth, and you're not as concerned with that big like hit or miss loss. So Prediction Strike is a great way to just follow along, watch your money grow, and definitely subscribe, because that's what we do here. We give tips, we give advice, we talk about some of the newer fighters, the newer sports, the newer fighters, newer athletes, and that's ultimately what's going to like lead to your success with Prediction Strike. So go ahead and give us a sub.
Right on. Awesome. So now breaking into the last part of this card here, we have Andre Muniz going against Paul Craig. I think it's pretty well known that Andre Muniz is the consensus favorite here, and Paul Craig is kind of the consensus underdog. But what is very intriguing is this is another reason why Prediction Strike is so great. You can get Andre Muniz at underdog prices right now compared to Paul Craig. So what do I mean by that? That means you can get Andre Muniz for $1.50, which means a 19% rise via decision win and a 24% rise by that finish. Whereas on the other side, Paul Craig is priced at $1.90. So that's a 40 cents differential via shares. So you could potentially get some other people buying on top of you, see how that goes in general. In which Paul Craig is going to potentially get a 12% gain with a 17% gain if he gets that finish. Now, do you guys agree with the wide range consensus, or do you agree with the theoretical Prediction Strike prices here?
I'm going to have to go with, I think Paul Craig. I think it's important to note that this is going to be Paul Craig's first fight at middleweight. I believe he's been fighting at light heavyweight for quite some time. He's also a submission specialist, as is Muniz. But I think that it's got that extra strength is going to carry over. I think it's going to be a good weight class for him, and I've got him leaning Paul Craig on this one.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction here and say that Craig comes in a little weary after cutting so much weight, comes in a little lackadaisical, and Muniz comes in with a submission somewhere in round 2, probably.
Sub, wow, okay.
Right
on Paul Craig.
Paul Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm team Paul Craig on this one. I think his submission skills are going to get him there. Muniz is also a BJJ killer, but I just think the experience of Craig and just the fact that he's tough as nails, along with we've seen before his loss to I think I'm butchering the pronunciation, but like Ozdemir or something. He put together 6 unbeaten fights. So
he beat the champ. He beat the current lightweight champion.
So I definitely see him I don't definitely see him taking this. I think it's going to be a close, good fight, but I have Paul Craig.
All right. I'm actually going to follow Grant on this one, looking at this, because I'm a little bit high on Brendan Allen as kind of a prospect here. I don't think he was terrible, but I thought that fight went a lot longer than I think a lot of people expected it to. And for whatever reason, I was wrong about this last week, but I've got a weird feeling that Andre Muniz is going to get put into some form of weird striking match with him, and that's how he gets the finish done. So for me, I'm going to take the bit of value on Prediction Strike here compared to everywhere else and ride the Andre Muniz train and hopefully not get burned. All right. So now that we've got that a little bit under the way, we're going to go into the final 3 fights here, where we have Nathaniel Wood taking on Andre Fili. Now, looking at their prices, let's see if my computer loves me today. There we go. And so there's still it fits in line with consensus and where everyone's thinking how this fight should go. The majority, it's $1.42 for Nathaniel Wood and 93 cents for Andre Fili, which means you get a 10% gain off of the base for Nathaniel Wood and a 23% gain off of the base for Andre Fili. What are you guys feeling for this fight? I heard a little bit of excitement going here. Tell me how you think it's going to go.
Oh, man, this is exciting. Nathaniel Wood, hot prospect out of Europe. Really, really good dude. Andre Fili, also super good, fights out of Team Alpha up in Sacramento. He's had some ups and downs in his career. It seems definitely in his last fight or two. Definitely has his head on straight. He's like remotivated. and he's training with some really tough dudes over there. This is a toss-up fight. I'm gonna be an antagonist here, and I'm gonna lean Andre Feely for the value there. I mean, that's great value on Andre with the length he's got. That's awesome. I'm taking it.
I'm gonna continue to disagree with you here, David. I'm gonna lean Nathaniel here. I think the home field advantage. Also, his last 4 fights have gone to decision. I don't think it's going to be necessarily an exciting fight, but I think he manages to just outpoint Feely and will get the job done by a probably unanimous. Could go split, but I'm going to take him by decision here.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Grant here. I believe, David. I'm sorry to say it.
Losers.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a decision win for Wood. He did pull out of his last 2 fights, but it was because of stitches. It wasn't because of anything serious. So I don't think his performance is going to be hampered at all. And like Grant said, the home court advantage, I think will definitely play into it.
I hate to say it, David, but I'm also on the same train with him here. You're alone, but I'm going to differ a little bit from them. I think he's going to get it done with the decision. And the reason I'm going with that is it's the 0-2, and something that you said that did intrigue me a lot is he's a hot kind of prospect a little bit. And we see kind of how these English fighters kind of prepare themselves when it comes to fighting in the 0-2 and the energy that really brings. And for this main card, I'm just going to have a hard time going against any of these English fighters. And I just think he gets it done within the distance at the minimum. I personally think it's going to be a knockout, but as you pointed out, I think this is going to be an absolute banger for a fight. And I think this might be the time to theoretically buy in on Nathaniel Wood before he really kind of potentially excels. Because I think they're trying to test it out and see, it's do we want to actually keep this guy on main cards, or is this the time to drop him off? And that's why they're giving him this level of competition. But I will 100% agree and say the value is with Andre Feely. Now, we're moving over to the second. Is this a co-main, or is this just one singular main event for Tom Aspinall? Because I know Molly McCann's a little bit.
It's the co-main. It's the co-main.
Okay. So we got, with the co-main here, Molly Meatball McCann taking on Julia Stolyarenko. Oof, that's a name. So Molly is a big favorite here. She's $1.28, looking at only a 9% gain, and you can add the 5% there if you think it's going to get a finish. And then you got a massive underdog in Julia Stolyarenko, sitting at about 78 cents a share, but you can get a 25% gain off of this fight. So tell me exactly how you guys think this one is going to go down here.
Look, guys, this is, if I've ever seen a T-ball of a fight set up for Molly McCann, it's this one. The girl she's fighting, just to put things in perspective, all due respect, the woman she's fighting knocked out the girl who got knocked out by the girl who got made into a meme this past weekend. Chandler, who literally ran away from her opponent in the ring, knocked this girl out. And I think Molly's going to do the same inside the distance in the 0-2. She's going to get back on the hype train. I don't know why they gave her last fight. That was not for her. She was never going to win that fight, but this one, it's tailor-made for Molly McCann.
Yeah, I think if it gets on the ground, it could get a little dicey. We saw how Blanchfield kind of had her way with Molly on the ground in the last fight.
Blanchfield's a beast, though.
I'll say
no, for sure.
Blanchfield would manhandle me on the ground.
Yeah, but stylistically, Julia presents that same kind of upside where if it gets on the ground, there's a chance that something happens. But I'm going to take McCann, let's say something exciting, an elbow knockout, round 1, electric start to the main events of this card. And yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to echo what these guys said. It's an absolute T-ball, just set up to be a showcase fight for McCann. And I don't think, even though Julia is a submission fighter, I don't think she's going to be able to do it to Holly. She only has 25% takedown accuracy, and I think Molly, sorry, not Holly. I think Molly is going to easily win this fight.
And Molly learned a lot from that Blanchfield fight. I mean, there literally may not be a tougher fight in the division. Molly's already faced it. She learned a lot. I don't think anyone else, under her is going to be able to take her on.
100%. I think you guys are all right on the mark here. I just don't think there's a way you can avoid Molly in this fight, so to speak. It's just too good. We saw what she was like when Patty was there with her in the 0-2. Like,
Can't
the
stand Patty.
energy that they bring is second to none. Albeit Patty, I don't think is nearly the caliber of fighter that Molly is, and via the kind of divisions, if you will. And yeah, I just don't think there's a way that Molly loses this fight. I can't believe that this was the girl who got knocked out by the running meme this past weekend. That is nuts.
Yep.
All right. So moving on to the main event here, and another kind of massive favorite, but a still big value on Prediction Strike. So we know how much of a favorite Tom Aspinall is. He's got the age going for him. He's got this and that. He's sitting at $3.13 on Prediction Strike, looking at a potential 16% gain off of a decision win, with that 5% kind of if he gets that knockout or submission. But on the opposite side of this, Marcin Tybura, who I think everyone can kind of agree is a pretty big underdog here, is actually sitting at a higher price than Tom Aspinall right now at $3.31. Looking to get 14% gains if he gets the decision win, with a 19% if he gets that knockout or submission. Where do you guys think this fight's going? You guys can kind of tell where I'm going off of it based on how I already talked about this a little. Let me know your exact thoughts.
This one, I'd say, more interesting than people think. Man, the Marcin Tybura he's been written off his last couple fights, and I don't know why. He is great at winning. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but Alexander Romanov was supposed to be this next big, hard-hitting submission dude, rolling through everybody. Everyone wrote off Marcin Tybura, and he came in, got the job done, made it look like cake. Tom Aspinall, on the other side of things, coming off a big knee injury, we don't really know how he's feeling. He's saying he's feeling good, better than he's ever felt. But you got to say that if you're going into a fight. So we don't actually know what he's going to look like coming off a huge injury against a guy who's just been kind of rolling over everyone, even as the underdog. So way more interesting than people are giving it credit for. I still, as much as I hate the idea of fading Marcin Tybura, I'm still leaning Tom Aspinall on this one.
Interesting fact here. By the time the Aspinall fight starts this Saturday night, probably ticking over into Sunday, it will be exactly a year between his injury last year at the same arena.
Wow.
So definitely a little bit of an eerie thing going on here. I think he'll probably come in maybe a little bit hesitant to really throw any kicks, because that's what happened last time. He might just have a little bit of jitters, but I think he settles into the ring and eventually gets it done. I think he sees the potential John Jones bag a few fights away, and he won't let this one stop him. So I think he gets it done here.
But yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys here. I just don't think it's the way Tom Aspinall. Like, I understand like the eerie kind of aspect of it, but at the same time, it's kind of like you can't. It's going to be a theoretical ceremonious fight. He's probably going to be crying once it's all done because of how emotional he's going to be from it literally being 1 year since that day. I'm riding with you guys. I don't think there's really any way we can go wrong with that specifically.
Although I will say Marcin Tybura constantly proving everybody wrong, so don't be surprised if that
it could
happens.
totally happen. Yeah.
Yeah, as has already been said, Aspinall's coming off a bad knee injury. He got blown out 15 seconds into the fight. But I think he has the better striking, the better jiu-jitsu. And I think, honestly, the only way I see Tom Aspinall losing this one is if he's favoring his knee, Other than that, I see Aspinall winning. So
we got two fights that we're all in agreement on for once. Let's go.
Finally.
Nice job, guys.
All right. Well, that was awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on. It's always fun running this kind of podcast with you guys. We're going to be back next week to see exactly how we performed, see if David and I can get some winning records here. Maybe Grant and Jackson will invert on that side, or they're just going to keep their hot streak strong. We'll see exactly.
Also, I get to pick out Grant's outfit.
Yep. It's going to see whether Grant or David decide their outfit for next week. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, next episode's definitely going to be a lot of fun. Highly recommend you guys stay in tune for that. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe and drop down your picks below. And tell us if you thought there was any fighters that really were undervalued that you would actually invest in going into the future. It listed off some intriguing prospects in the prelims. We got through this kind of main card for you. A lot of action for you to go through. And realistically, yeah, that's all we got. See you next time. Peace.